everyone, and welcome to How to Penetrate a Man's World. Today we have the amazing Asnath Mahapa. She is the first African female pilot in South Africa. How cool is that? Asnath, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for agreeing to do this. But what everyone wants to know, who is Asnath?
Well, as you said, I'm an African woman.
Yes.
I grew up in a very small village from Limpopo.
Wow.
So I speak Sepedi, Kemopedi.
Okay.
And I grew up there. I went to school there, primary school, including high school. I went there. And my passion about flying started when I was about 13 years old.
Wow.
That's when it started.
Wow.
In those days, coming to Gauteng was it was a serious outing.
Yes.
So it was shortly after my mother passed on. So my father decided he wanted us to visit my aunt here in Midrand.
Okay.
I mean, I remember Midrand was still like 70%. It was a field.
Yes.
Yes. There was nothing. The Boulders was a very small mall.
Oh, yeah.
We could walk from our house to Boulders to go and watch movies.
Wow.
So we came here, we visited her, and the one evening I heard her talking to her husband about this man. He lived next door to them, and he was a pilot.
Wow.
And for a girl from that with that background, I used to see aeroplanes from far. In
Yes.
actual fact, most of the time you'd see the contrails,
Yes.
This thing is passed already, but because of moisture, you see those contrails, and you knew it was an aeroplane
Yes.
that passed. And I think all of us at the time, young African kids, used to have a song, "Fly Machine," the flying machine.
Yes.
You must, I don't know, you must tell the cock, the male hen,
Yes.
to bring a child. It was a song like that, and we used to sing songs like that. And I had never seen a big aeroplane close by in my life. The only other time I'd seen a plane, it was when the military, those days when we were very young, they would come into the rural areas and they'll fly low level but fast, and they'll break the sound barrier. So by the time you had this aeroplane, it was long gone.
Yeah.
And that was my experience when it came to flying. So it was kind of for me, pilots were not normal people. They were not. They were this elite group of people that could not possibly live amongst us.
Yes.
And I just never thought of meeting a pilot, because to me they were not really human, if I can put it that way. And hearing this, they have a pilot
Right
next door.
Yes.
So I'm like a few 100 meters from a pilot, Just so in my mind I was like, so if another human being next door can control that big thing in the air, surely I can be in charge of that thing. And that was it for me.
Yes.
And from that day onwards, all I wanted to do was fly aeroplanes. And so I started telling people about this thing. You can imagine I was laughed at, this girl. I mean, we didn't have electricity, we didn't have running water, we didn't have roads, proper roads. I mean, we didn't have telephones, we had nothing. And yet this girl had this dream of becoming a pilot. So at first I was laughed at, and eventually I kept quiet about this dream. So I kept it to myself. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to be laughed at, but I never gave up on this dream.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you already at first did you eventually meet this guy?
No, unfortunately not. Look, the type of how we were brought up. Remember, there was this thing that a child must be seen and not heard.
Yes.
So how could I possibly ask to meet that man?
That man, yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So
Yes.
I think I've always been like a self-opinionated child, but I knew when not to cross certain boundaries because that's how we were brought up. So I never asked about this man. I never asked to meet this person. I don't even know if I was going to be able to look at this man in the face because we were not supposed to do that in the first place.
Yes.
You looking at
Like
you like
this?
this.
No.
This is not this never used to happen.
Yes.
As a child, you couldn't look at an adult in the eyes.
Yes.
So I never asked to meet the man,
Wow.
and I don't even know his name.
Wow.
All I know is that he was a
He
pilot.
was
That's about all I know.
Wow.
So that's where the whole thing began. And what's funny was that I didn't know anybody in the industry, obviously. I just knew I wanted to be a pilot. Fortunately, I was in boarding school at the time. And there were times when during holidays I would have to take a taxi home, from the school home. And I'd have to take 2 taxis, so one from school into town, and then you get off in town, and then you take another one and continue to the village.
Yes.
And that gave me an opportunity to walk into bookshops,
Oh,
where
yes.
I then started buying magazines about flying. That's where I learned about flying. I learned about
Wow.
flying by just using my pocket money,
Yes.
buying magazines about flying.
Wow.
And that's why that essentially was all the information I had, because I had no contact when it came to flying. So I read about what subjects I needed to do for me to end up being a pilot.
Wow.
I found out that there were these things called flight schools around the country. You didn't need to go to university for you to fly.
Yes.
And that's where I found out about, the only thing I didn't know was the price.
Yes.
But anyhow, I knew I had to do maths and science, and that's what I did. I followed that stream, in school. So I did
Yes.
maths and science, and I tried to do well in maths and science.
Yes.
And then came metric time. My father said to me, "So, madam, it's time to apply
Yes.
to university." And I said to him, "I don't want to go to
can't.
university." He said to me, "What are you talking about?" I said, "No, I want to be a pilot." Now I'm talking to a man who's never seen an aeroplane, who's
Yes.
never been on one,
Yes.
and this child who's never been on an aeroplane herself
Yes.
is talking about flying aeroplanes.
Yes.
So you can imagine how the conversation went. It was a very short conversation.
Because you couldn't.
Yeah. How do you motivate? What you I couldn't motivate. What is it that? How do you motivate it? So he said to me, "No, you're going to apply to university like a normal person." Sure. So I did that. I applied, and I got into a few universities. I decided, no, Cape Town is where I'm going to go. So I went to UCT. But we had an agreement, because I kept on telling him, "I don't want to do this thing that you want me to do." So he said to me, "Okay, try this engineering thing for a year. If you still feel the same way at the end of the year, I promise we'll look into this flying story." I said, "Okay, that's fine." So there I was. I ventured to UCT, and that was the first time I actually flew. I don't know if he just bought me that ticket so that I could get onto an aeroplane, but
Wow.
yeah, my first time flying, I was 17 years old. To Cape Town.